So let's we can talk a little bit about some info on you, that so we know what kind of audience we have. How many of you know what the Gentoo Foundation is and what it does? Okay. How many of you know what the Gentoo Council is and what it does? Okay.
We have a problem there. It seems some council members don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is. What should we... George, if you take the next slide. And we'll introduce and tell you about what the bodies are and what the talk is about. Roy.
I'm Roy Bamford. Somehow I got elected to be president of the Gentoo Foundation. I don't know how, because it's an American entity and I know nothing about American law, but I've had to learn fast. I've been playing with computers for nearly 50 years now. I started as a 10-year-old when my mother got a job as a computer operator. The days when computers were room phones, air-conditioned room, not something I had at home. So my background as employment background is designing embedded systems for aircraft. So Gentoo fits in there very nicely. I do the hardware during the day and play with the software at night.
And what is the Gentoo Foundation?
Oh, the hard ones first. The Gentoo Foundation, well, covering some of this in my piece or joint talk later.
Yeah, in short.
Is the organisation set up by Daniel Robbins when he left to take care of Gentoo's intellectual property and tangible assets. More on that later.
Yeah. So, my name is Petteri, a Gentoo Developer since 2005, a council member and developer relations lead and the Java team lead at this moment. What is the Gentoo Council? It's the elected body that does the technical governance of 7 people, yearly elections, and all developers of the people have at gentoo.org email address. Vote for that one. For the foundation, you can be a member, although you are not a developer as such. And what I do for a living, I'm a programmer, or fancy title as a technical architect, but anyway, in an IT startup and finishing studies in Aalto University in Finland. And George.
I want to talk about council, as we already talked about it. I've been in focus since 2006 and with a few teams. In case you listen to the previous talk, already know what I do. So I'll just say I'm a council member and let's go forward.
Maybe in brief you could tell what the purpose of the talk was, as it was your idea.
Sure, I get the answer. So the idea was to, since I was doing the catalyst talk or the rallying talk, to have a talk about, well, how's Gentoo, what will be its future, what do we think, or council members and the foundation president think about its future, and what type of reforms might be needed for Gentoo. And we start with a little provocation. In case you know the background, you'll notice that the first line is extinct, and in the top, in the right corner, it's Gentoo. And it's provocation because, if you know Gentoo, you know too well, Gentoo is claimed to be dead for a long time.
It said in the bottom, extinct since the dinosaurs, but still compiling.
But it seems it is alive.
Yeah.
The 200 is also alive. Because there is also a lot of food saying the same for hardware plants. And I think we stated that the 200 is also alive.
Sure, Gentoo is alive. Gentoo is alive. We just wanted to vote by saying that Gentoo is dead, when I think, well, there are quite a few people around here working with Gentoo, so it would be quite a mistake to say it's dead. Right? And when you can see that it's alive with prefix, we have some people in there who work with prefix. if you want to see if it's alive, go check Gentoo Commits on Freenode. We currently have 275 active developers, and the Gentoo Foundation, which I will talk about more a little bit later, was at one point in danger, but it's very much alive and it's doing a great job.
If you watch the IRC channel, there should be comments, multiple comments during the talk also. So if it is totally silent, I would like to hear about that. And the number 235 is the freshly baked before the talk from sometime today from LDAP, which records that. In Gentoo, we actively retire people who don't contribute, well, semi-actively anyway, so if you don't contribute, the number should go down. So those people have at least within the last year or two committed something, or then participated in crowds, something like that. Jorge, if you have
I'd say that we shouldn't have any developer, at least developer with access to the tree, who hasn't committed anything in the last 6 months. I think that's about the time I did the last round of retirement. So most of the people that still are developers with tree access have committed something in the last 6 months.
And at any point, if you have any questions or want to interrupt us, feel free. It's supposed to be plenty of discussion too, besides just showing slides.
Right, and the talk was presented as a debate. So that's it. You want to join in?
Petteri, actually, you know that for Gentoo comments now we have enabled the CA who that points out all the comments from all the overlays, so it's quite more active for a few days.
So the CA bot is already working? The CA bot is working?
It's on.
I noticed a mail, but I didn't know it was working already. Do you want to talk?
Yeah, do I want to talk? Perhaps. The general structure of the talk is that to provoke discussion, hopefully we'll present some issues and maybe some solutions in some cases, and some cases input from you can. And at the end we have discussion, and if you have any technical, this is more organizational and people oriented, if you have any technical questions about the future, we do have a time reserved in the QA session as a follow-up there, to if you want to dive into more deeper technical issues. This slide deck doesn't cover those.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things is that the metastructure of Gentoo, the way that the project is organized, has been neglected for a long time. We have a metastructure team. If you go to Gentoo/project/en/metastructure, there's a metastructure project, but there's no one on it. And that project was supposed to know what projects exist, who's working on them, and how are they doing. Another issue we have is accountability and service delivery. Right now, there's no accountability. A project may exist, or developers may be working and not being delivering anything, and well, that's it. There's no consequences. Then there's an old issue that's always fresh, which is the Council-Foundation relation, which isn't clear, and we'll talk about it a bit more later. And finally, we wanted to talk about three other stuffs, which are the community complaints about recruitment, and Petteri is here, so we'll be able to talk to him. A user-developer split. Some people say we have the user-developer split, and the foundation, which Roy will talk about more in detail. So, future. Well, one thing that's it's a bit not this topic, but follows the previous my previous talk, is that we need to have more automation. We need to have boxes that improve check and also improve QA, and that allow release engineering to provide a better job. You want to address the next one.
It's a controversial topic which comes out every once in a while, is that do we have currently everyone has commit access to the main tree, and should people be like X-server style be divided into smaller modules, or do we have that one huge tree? If you have any opinions on that, we'll come back to that later. But the one prevailing idea here is that instead of for the user developer split, is that do you want to make the status, or if you're a user and contribute a single patch, you're in by some definition of a developer, and so if you make the entry barrier as little as possible, you can solve those personal issues that you always need more people. If you think about 253 people, and we have 10,000 packages, or Robbins, do you have a better estimate? 10,000, 8,000?
13,000.
13,000. So, yeah, so if you divide those numbers, you'll end up with pretty much a lot of work for a person. But yeah, maybe take the next slide and see.
Okay, so manufacturing. Well, the problem we have now is how many projects and what projects does Gentoo have? Well, I can go to the project page and see a list of projects. I can even see more if I go to the CVS repo that hosts the projects. But that's about it. There isn't anyone who really knows how many projects and how they are doing it. Because the metastructure project doesn't have anyone working on it. An old topic that was, since I've become a developer, I've seen discussed at least 3 or 4 times since then, is getting an automated system or forcing developers and projects to report their status. There's been suggested many times, well, we should create a rule that projects have to at least once a year send an email somewhere telling I'm alive. It has been discussed 3 or 4 or 5 times, and it keeps getting discussed twice, and that isn't the solution, because that doesn't fix anything. Another issue is what we do to that projects. I have one dev project. Well, it isn't dead yet, but it's very close to being dead, and I have to fix it with Petteri, which is user relations. We want to merge it in community relations, but we started talking about it 1 year ago. We haven't done it yet.
In here, the idea why people perceive Gentoo as dead is that people would like some overall direction, I think, or expect some. But the history of Gentoo is that if you want to show up with code and want to do some direction, you're being free to do that, and still it's encouraged. But in here, let's see, who of you knows what is the purpose of Gentoo, or the core idea? Okay. Yeah, basically that. But so that shows how a poor job we do in communicating that. Let's see, where what's that social contract about Gentoo page, or?
Yeah, it's the social contract.
What is the goal of Gentoo?
The goal of Gentoo is to be a meta distribution to enable you to build your own stuff, basically, and customize it to whatever, to your heart's content. That's my view of it. If anyone of the developer block on the right who has different ideas, which are fine, wants to share anything, raise your hand, please. But of course, if you think about it, if there's Robbins who does prefix stuff, which runs on OS X or whatever, then there's some guy who wants to run it on a normal laptop, x86. It's still quite far away from each other. It's hard to say that Gentoo is focused on desktop to deliver a good desktop experience or server experience, which, if you think about Ubuntu, it's not like their goal is to deliver a user experience on OS X.
And we don't do just that. We have desktop, we have prefix, we have circle, we have the embedded stuff. Some people work just in embedded and are concerned about embedded. We have, for instance, paper doing the CDFC work.
Louder.
Sorry. It reflects here in the metastructure is that many of the Gentoo developers don't care about the big picture. They care about that particular corner. I may be a KDE developer and just care about KDE. I want KDE working. I don't want to care if I can get Gentoo running too well in ARM, in MIPS, if I'm able to put Gentoo running inside OS X, if, for instance, I have the latest version of Apache in the tree or not. We have such a broad spectrum with so many little people that sometimes it's hard for everyone to come together and look at the big picture.
But Gentoo KDE runs on ARM.
And one other thing is that we have no marketing budget, we have no marketing people, and we have no releases which would be published.
Well, Roy offered to double our salary. I don't know if it will.
Okay, 2 times 0. Yay. But
And we have the hexagon machine, right?
But those of you that don't know the philosophy or the history of what Gentoo is, that please raise your hand. What could we do to communicate that better that Gentoo is still alive? Where would you look for information? Please raise your hand if you look at the website.
Yeah, let's update our website.
Redesign it. Awesome idea.
Only for 10 years out there. No, seriously, the redesign is there for how many years? 4 or 5 years, and it has never been through. So maybe.
I think you want to say it was at least twice. I think there were at least 2 times that we're trying to redesign the site.
Yeah.
Recruit some users and make them spam forums saying that the is alive. It's a good way to make some publicity.
Make users. What else that you said? Make users know or?
No. Try to combine 2 or 3 people. So they enter in some of the most Linux active forums and try to solve doubts to the people of the forums and try to save some of the Spinorama.
Well, if I understood it correctly, some Gentoo developers they contribute to some of the most known Linux forums. We have some developers who even tried to create a project inside Gentoo to have people going to the Linux forums and answering questions. Even though, at least it used to be said that the Gentoo forums were a very good source of information for people from all distros and not just Gentoo. But yeah, you can try to, well, on other forums. You just need people to get to do it. That's the other side. The volunteers, so it's sometimes hard. I understand your proposition. I think it might be a good proposition. You just need to get someone interested in doing it.
Yeah,
Website doesn't seem to provoke it. But what is the forum to communicate? Well, would you know better if you had release more often? Yeah, there.
I wouldn't say that the website redesigning it will help Gentoo getting more in the picture, because that's only if you search on the internet for Gentoo. Earlier we had the releases, and that brings Gentoo on DistroWatch. So that brings Gentoo into the picture, not redesigning the website. I think the website is okay like it is now.
Have you read what it says on DistroWatch on Gentoo? Do you know what it says on DistroWatch on Gentoo? Do anybody have web open to be able to sell that? I think on DistroWatch it said that Gentoo has a lot of infighting and it's basically dead. But
Yeah.
So we don't want to direct people there for obvious reasons.
Well, DistroWatch for us has a problem, or if you want, Gentoo has a problem for DistroWatch, in that Gentoo isn't like most binary distros that you have releases, and users only get release, and when they want to get a new version, they have to get a new release. We are a continuum, so This watch would have to say every week, oh, Gentoo release a new version for MD64.
No, if it's on distro watch, everybody who follows the distro,
Sure.
he just sees the site, he sees Gentoo, oh, what is it, and he can check it out. Now,
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that the way we feel about the
It's hard.
distro watch is judging Gentoo is probably based on the fact that we keep releasing, and to them that isn't interesting.
It's hard to advertise on distro was that Gentoo has new KDE out, because if they track like KDE, they track releases, and you would have to have, well, you can lie that you are coming behind if you think about live DVD. It's been already out for quite a while. But they're you got
Why don't you just have a particular status of the Portage 3 as a release? I mean, for example, every 6 weeks, you take the Portage 3 or the stable Portage 3 as it is,
But
you
that's-
see what has changed since 6 weeks ago.
But you already get that. Every week you get a new CD which reflects the state
Yeah.
of the stable tree on that week.
Yeah, the point is that if you're using like that as a release, if you go and install it, aren't you? If it says it has KDE 4.5, wouldn't you expect to have KDE 4.5 after you update? But if new KDE has come out, you have actually 4.6, which if you advertise that as a release, is kind of confusing because you're not actually getting what it says on the packaging.
No.
I think it's vital though that you, as soon as possible, have that changed. What it says that because of infighting, Gentoo is almost dead. Because DistroWatch is still for a lot of people an important source of information about distributions. I had it myself. I did an install on G4 last week, and I saw that on DistroWatch. It said that Gentoo is practically dead, and I was like, it's ridiculous that they have it on there.
What I can
Yeah.
tell you is that Gentoo has approached DistroWatch about it.
We have tried, is the answer.
We have tried. It's not our side. It's their view, so we don't have anything else to say about it.
Well, I think it's also important what type of users do you really want to have. Because Gentoo is, from my perspective, not really designed for like Ubuntu user to expect everything to working out of the box. And DistroWatch is pretty much the place where people go and search, oh, there is a new distribution and let's try it. I don't think that as a Gentoo we do really need extra exposure, because we actually target people we want to target, as it is. So if someone wants to find it, it will.
What I can tell you is that I can talk for the other 234 developers. My view is that one. I don't know, perhaps some of the other developers would like to be more accessible in the sense that provide an easier entrance. But I agree with that. I agree that the point of Gentoo is to provide tools for users who want to be power users.
Yeah.
I don't think we gain much trying to go after Ubuntu. Ubuntu is already there.
Yeah, and they're good in the job they're doing, and it's fine. It's
Yeah,
for every user, it's absolutely brilliant.
When I started using Gentoo and then became a developer, it wasn't because I wanted to use Ubuntu, it was because I wanted to use Gentoo.
Exactly.
But other developers may have different opinions.
Talking about Distro Watch, at the moment place 6, a few days ago number 2 in their ranking is Sabayon. So I would say it's mostly the derivatives that get a nice press, but we do the heavy lifting for them. For
It's like Debian.
I'm confused about this thing.
There's a guy in the back.
So on the question of a good metric of Gentoo activity, I guess that would be the number of new rebuilds added, or the number of version bumps committed to portage or something. Is there a graph of that on the website?
For e-bills, we want to destroy quite a few, but
Well, that's a commit as well.
Yeah.
If you remove an e-build, that's also.
No, CA is watching every day all our everyday commits. So
Sorry?
CAEC is watching every Gentoo commits. So if we open the page,
if you go to a page called a website called CIA.bc, it tracks comics across a wide variety of open source projects, and it has some kind of statistics on average time between commits and things like that. That can be used to accomplish what you want.
Yeah, I think it might be a very accessible way to visualize activity in at least Portage, and Portage is a whole lot of what Gentoo is.
I can tell you that you were suggesting about, if I understood it correctly, the number of e-builds, the number of bumps, that there's an argument inside Gentoo whether we should have a larger scope of packages or whether we should have a narrow scope and focus more on the quality of those and in the accuracy and the fractions of that, because we are only 275 people, not everyone.
253.
Okay, sorry.
Somewhere there, 2.5.
And some work a bit more than others, and it's very hard to get everything in perfect shape at the latest version. So
yeah, let's. There's two questions from us on this topic, and then we'll move on so we can cover more from. Yeah, you still wanna?
No, I just wanted to get back to the point of the distro watch, because you say people who want to be power users, they will use it. But that's how I started using Gentoo.
Sorry?
I found it there, and I tried it out.
Let me just correct, because if you understood that, I didn't express myself correctly. I didn't say that the power users will find Gentoo. I said that in my case, I believe that Gentoo should strive for power users. I'm not talking about the way that power users find Gentoo. Because the question that was being raised is whether Gentoo should strive to new users, people migrating to Unix, or those who are interested in having a custom distribution that lets you do what you want to do. And I think that's what Gentoo should do. I wasn't talking about the way people find it. Yes, I agree. That's a problem.
We can get back to you at the end.
Yeah, I think you should also work for new users, for beginner users. But we shouldn't expect that Gentoo is what beginner users are looking for. I think it's mostly searched after by power users, so that's where I agree. There's another aspect to Gentoo not only does it not have releases, and I consider that a strength actually, but there's also that it's a method distribution, that we don't really change the packages, right? We provide them vanilla, more or less. Or
we try to.
There are some projects that I don't want to keep them in the dark, but all in all, we try to provide a clean experience to the user. We don't, like Ubuntu, have additional projects. We don't start a lot of own projects around GNOME or something. And so there's really no reason why I would go to the website actually, except for one time. I need to install, I need to read the handbook, and after that there is not that much you can update, because everything already comes reported.
Yeah.
There's just no, you don't have to really make the website that much, in the eye.
Yeah, we'll have to continue this talk a little bit.
Petteri asking for one.
Yeah.
Users come to Gentoo for two reasons. They're power users wanting to have control of their system, or they're new users wanting to learn how Linux works under the hood. And even new users, they follow the handbook properly, post on the forums when things don't go quite right, can install Gentoo successfully. I've seen quite a few new users say, I followed the handbook, I tried to start X, and it's not there. Because they've not installed it yet. Because the handbook is only a part of the solution to their problem.
But just a fundamental, Petteri, on this. I believe that on that Gentoo is a very good distribution. For people who really want to learn how to work with Linux and who don't want to learn how you go to YAST and change the config setting, or how you use Anaconda or whatever, install a package, but want to learn how to build packages, how to configure Apache in its config file, Gentoo is very good at that. Because if you want to put it to work, you have to use the tools of each of the projects. You don't go to a custom Gentoo tool to configure Apache. So on that, I think that's one of the advantages of Gentoo. We probably have to make people understand that, or see if they can agree with us.
Yeah, basically, but I guess the summary is that it's hard to communicate in real life, considering how Gentoo is or what it does. But yeah, let's move on and get back to the rest of the questions.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, but I guess the second point here is that we're address. We have been addressing for a while.
Yeah, sure. There's the final qualification. Keep this in mind. We'll get to it later.
One problem is that to get more people involved to avoid dying for the developer account to go down is have more people contributing. And I don't know, do you know from whom the comment was that it's too hard to get involved or recruited or whatever?
I can't.
No, but
I don't know who said that, but I agree.
You do?
It is a lengthy process, you know, with all kind of weird questions about all kind of meta stuff, which is absolutely nothing related to real hard coding. So
yeah, but basically the process here, and it's for a coder's perspective, it's tedious, and you need to know stuff like, let's see, what is the foundation, how you become a member, and what could be other example, or
what mailing list should you follow, and how should you use mailing list headers to post to them, and things like that. The idea here is that there's a balance between if it's a little bit tedious, then you're more likely to stick around after going through the trouble. And then the balance, of course, that if it's too easy to get commit access, then it's a cruel nightmare if you're able to push it. It's basically root access on all Gentoo boxes if you keep that in mind. But let's take the next slide, and if you press that, and I am the guy who's in charge of the process. So in here, I'm ready for insults and inputs. So and I only get the mail. I have nothing to do with the rest. So
Patrick,
one thing is there's quite a group of developers that retire for a year or two and then try to return, and that process is somehow totally broken because they take the longest time, which is a bit weird because, I mean, they already know all the bits, they just need a small refresher, they want to work and we don't enable them.
They take as much time as new people, which feels like a long time probably, but
in general, we're only reactive in the sense that I see, for example, on some bug reports, hey, this user is posting on every bug for this package, and then I contact that user, but we have no listening post where users can just say, hey, I want to help, where do I start?
If you don't mind, if they send an email to recruiters, they'll get a reply. And these days, it will be...
How do they find out?
I'm not... Okay.
The stepping needs page.
That's a good point. But what I'm saying is...
We have no mousetrap to catch new devs.
I understand. But if they mail recruiters, they'll get a reply. And Petteri can confirm that recently it isn't taking that long to get a reply. I'm not the only one replying. Quite a few of the recruiters are replying, and we're trying to do it quickly. But if you don't mind, it can be just recruiters. Recruiters are at the end of the stage. They need to be mentored, and you do it. But we need mentors.
You do it, but 240 people don't.
My personal goal is to make myself redundant, and I think every dev should try to do it, to recruit people so that basically everything you do is covered by at least someone else. So if you just walk away, Gentoo still continues, and it gives you also the time to do the exciting stuff, and you're not all the time just, you know, stuck in version bumps and all the annoying, boring stuff.
Okay, well, I would like to get back to that topic. Is it too hard? I would say no, it's not too hard at all. Actually, it's quite simple. It should be much more about the details and about, because you talked about QA. I don't care so much about policies, but policies is basically just a bit of homework. But the real need, the real quality, the real questions about e-builds, about tools, I think they're not hard enough. So I think, is it too hard? No, it is not hard at all.
Let's take a quick count. If you are considered about contributing as a distro developer for a certain amount of time, are you willing to fill up paperwork? Please raise your hand if you are.
I think there's another question. What can be gained from becoming a developer?
Yeah, well, basically you get access to bump the packages you maintain whenever you want, and you get the shiny email address.
Yeah, I had the same one on that. Why do you become a developer? Why did I become a developer? Well, for what? And on open source, to me it was a way to contribute back. I've used open source for quite a few years, and I've learned a lot from using it. So I became a developer to give back. And I think most open source developers feel it in
I understand.
they want to give back.
I was a Gentoo developer once. The reason why I left was just pure because of time reasons. I had periods of 4 or 5 months that I could not contribute. So in the policy, it says, okay, you can't be a developer anymore because you can't contribute constantly towards it. So now I'm becoming a bit more active again. I know that in 2 months I'm going to stop for 4 months again, so I know I'm not going to ask for developership. But if I then take a look at what I'm doing right now, it's the same as what I did when I was a developer. So I don't see what more I could gain from becoming a developer.
That's another issue, one that's...
Yeah, the point, one of the point is that it's probably too hard to contribute as a user, and we would like to make it easier. Yeah. But I guess besides the Git migration, I don't have any fresh ideas.
No, but with the Git migration, there's the idea of one of the main principles on Gentoo since the start is that developers have access to all the three. One way to change that, but it's something that we really have to talk about, is saying, well, okay, most users can't give all the required time to get ready or to commit to be a developer. So let's find a compromise and find a way to someone who just wants to spend 1 or 2 hours a week, who can do a bump here and there, and okay, he likes KDE. Let's give him access just to KDE. No, he works on crypto packages. The crypto team works with him, thinks he's a fellow contributor, that he does a good work, so let's let him work on it. But that is something we really need to discuss, because that will change the way that Gentoo currently is. Splitting access and giving just restricted access to parts of the tree.
Let's take these 2 comments on this topic and then come to Jorge. Yeah, I think you were there first. You beside the wall. I think.
So I've been writing e-builds for I don't know. I've been using Gentoo for I guess 6 or 7 years. I've been writing e-builds for 3 or 4 years and putting them into a couple of different overlays. Some for my customers, some for specific customers, some for my own. And sometimes it's about fixing a bug that is in Portage. And sometimes it's about running a package that I want to use and which isn't in Portage. And so Layman is a fantastic tool for working with overlays. And at the point where I got my Git repository with my overlay included in the Layman list, I sort of got a bit less motivated to go through the becoming a developer process. I'm already a bit noticed by some developers. I know a couple of them, and I guess I'd like to be a Gentoo developer, but on the other hand, right now I can just commit and push to my repo and do Layman in Studio, and life is good.
Yeah, but if you don't want bigger exposure to those packages to all Gentoo users, then I'm assuming only a very small percentage of Gentoo users have your overlay, if probably not.
Probably, yeah, for sure. On the other hand, I've solved my problem.
Yeah, if you're scratching only your itch.
Right.
Yeah, you're coming.
I wanted to make a suggestion. Maybe to become a dev or to become a starter process, has the main problem that there is a lot of bureaucracy in the structure part of the tests. For example, if we try to hire somebody who used once to watch over books in Mozilla and make some book wrangling, we still need to make him pass the wall test. And passing the wall staffer test means at least 1 week worth of work, reading all the policies, all the documents that are written there. What they're trying to get to is maybe a better approach.
You're talking about having split access, about letting people join and work just in a partner, and with that having less stringent requirements. That's one of the ways that we can start thinking about work. The community needs to start talking about it and see.
Speaking of events of duties, I mean, for example, there is no sense in me that right now I'm writing documentation that I don't know how really this works. Because if there is some announcement to be done, that will be done by Sorry, for example. But I'm asked to know that.
There's a balance to be found. But yeah, let's move on to, so that we don't miss all Roy's points, but we can get back to these at the end, and we have the next session too, which is kind of open discussion, and we can continue the open points there.
Okay. Oops. You want to get? Okay, just a final question where we were talking about. Do you think there is a user-developer split or not?
Raise your hand if there is.
For sure there is. I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, if you think there's a user-developer split,
It's quite funny that the people who bring small briefings raise their hand that there is a split.
so and why do developers think that there is a split? What can we do to address it, to fix it?
We should probably give access to some parts or even all parts more easily, or allow users to contribute easily, which is not quite peachy with CVS.
Okay, sure.
I really enjoy people contributing to KDE overlay because they just send us the Git patch and they just amend it and everything fixed in like few seconds. But for CVS I have to check all the divs and upload.
You know, we're trying to move to Git.
Yeah, I know. We are trying for a couple of years.
Right. But at least some of the reports are changing.
Everyone who wants to help in solving these problems, Git migration probably can use the help. But yeah,
Newcomb is actually going to be released, so it's about time.
yeah, but yeah, let's probably waste time.
Yeah. Okay. So,
See?
Yes.
Well, Jorge can switch slides and
It's his laptop.
yeah, it's his.
Sorry, so
I've done my introduction, so
Yeah, let's
sorry.
the Gentoo Foundation was formed when Daniel Robbins left. At the time, when Daniel Robbins was in Gentoo the first time, he ran a parallel company called Gentoo Technologies, which owned all of Gentoo's IPR, intellectual property rather, trademarks and so on, and he tried to support himself and his family off of it. It failed, which is part of the reason that Daniel left the first time. When he left, the foundation was formed to take over the intellectual property, look after the trademarks, generally effectively own Gentoo. Sometime later, the council was formed from the top-level project leads because Daniel was the benevolent dictator for life. When he was here, it left the leadership vacuum. As the foundation was fairly weak or non-existent at that time, they didn't have any influence over the way the technical leadership of the foundation of the institution was set up. So we've got a two-headed monster now. We've got the foundation, which is the legal owners of Gentoo, and we've got the council, which takes decisions on behalf of the legal entity, but the two are not connected. It means that I'm one of the 5 people that go to jail if the council screws up. That makes me a little bit nervous.
Well, after you get extradited from the UK.
After I get extradited from the UK, so being in the UK is a good thing for me. I do like to think that if the council took some dodgy decisions, they would listen to legal advice from the foundation, and maybe retract it if the foundation said it's not a good idea, chaps. More importantly, looking towards the outside world, it's very old and very ugly to other corporations. The drivers for change are Gentoo's growing up. We're going for a charitable status in the US, which makes it easier for other corporations and other US individuals to contribute financially to Gentoo. So the way I would like to see things moving is that Gentoo adopts a more formal corporate structure. That slide shows the basic corporate structure and some mapping into existing Gentoo structure. It's a bit odd for the general manager to be a committee, but there isn't a technical lead you can point to in Gentoo. It will be the general manager. Yeah, okay. Not a lot changes. Foundation remains Gentoo's legal entity. Council becomes the general manager. The trustees are clearly accountable for council decisions now. More importantly for the council is they're legally protected by the foundation if they do something daft to screw up. As it stands at the moment, council members who are not foundation members, and there can be some, would be exposed individually for their liability and bad decisions. So there's some protection for council members there. Internally, not much changes. The link between the council and the foundation is formalised. But like I say in the last line there, the devil's in the detail. The detail isn't worked out yet. I can see that some groups will see it as a power grab. That's not what it's intended to be. It's to make the Gentoo as a legal entity easier to deal with externally. This is why it's important to us to move in this direction, so that we can approach other corporations in the US for donations in kind, like hardware, space and data center, cash contributions. Just makes life easier all around. Approval isn't going to be quick, because it will need approval by the council, possibly Gentoo devs, the foundation, maybe foundation members. The two bodies are not the same. There are lots of foundation members today who are not developers. It's also good to expand the foundation. The foundation was formed on the 4th of October 1999. Gentoo celebrated its 10th birthday a year or two ago. I had a long chat with Daniel Robbins, chat, trying to establish a date. Daniel couldn't remember. He asked around some of the very early contributors to what was about to become Gentoo. He couldn't get a date, so we took the date from the registration of the Gentoo.org website. But Gentoo's had children, like any family. Savion's already been mentioned. System Rescue CD, which is an excellent installer for Gentoo, is all Gentoo based. Tin Hat is a secure run from RAM distribution. Gentoo, I'm not sure if that's still alive. Xturbo's fairly controversial. But I thought I'd put it there anyway. So maybe some of those will have children as well, so perhaps we can visit grandparents today. There's in family, there's infighting, which is what Distro Watch sees. But there's also care, helping one another. It's not all negative, and it's the negative views of the world we have to keep out of the public eye. So looking at the wider Gentoo family, do their contributions, or contributions to them, feed back into Gentoo? I think they do, because contributions to Fun2 feed back into Gentoo. Some other patches there, they all use except Observer, which is moving away, they all use the portage tree. So should the benefits of the foundation be available to Gentoo derivatives? It could allow the family to grow together, but then again, they may not be interested. My own views is I'd answer those questions yes, yes, and yes. It makes the community closer. There's less infighting because there's less rivalry. It's already possible for non-developers, ex-developers to serve up as trustees. Daniel Robbins himself has been nominated to run in several elections. He's declined. It also gives us a bigger pool of experienced people to staff the foundation with. And that's very critical because since the foundation almost failed in 2007, there's been very few people step up to want to be a trustee, to the extent that last year when the elections were held, the existing trustees stood again and they were elected unopposed. There was no election. I don't see it happening until the corporate structure is regularised, because there's too much upheaval to do at one time. We'll have to speak to the other distros. They may not be interested. I can think of at least one that won't be. No names. But it's very simple to implement because there's no need to change any foundation bylaws. So in summary, the way I see Gentoo going is regularise the corporate structure. It's mostly for external perception. It helps protect councillors as well. They expand the foundation by embracing our offspring.
Any questions on this issue, or is this more uncontroversial than the point before it?
For example, Sabayon, they stated they are very happy with the current relationship with Gentoo. I've kind of jokingly said, well, we're going to assimilate you. They said,
no, not assimilate them.
No, I meant it as a joke to them, and they said, well, we could do that, but at the moment they have their own structure and they're quite happy with that. So, for example, they won't be interested.
I wasn't thinking, when I wrote those slides, I wasn't thinking of dismantling anybody's structure, just allowing contributions to Sabian to be a valid reason to allow people making those contributions to join the foundation.
It's not about branding them under Gentoo, but allowing them, if they want to become part of the Gentoo family, not making Sabayon Gentoo desktop or whatever.
So it's not assimilation, it's providing some legal structure, which we've already got, to help them out.
And there's another issue. We're talking about Web 39 reform, which is in front of the council. If the foundation expands, if the council becomes the body of the foundation, by allowing people from the derivatives to join the foundation, we may be creating a way for them to get to the council. So that's why we have quite a few things to talk about.
Yeah, the devil's in the detail.
Yeah.
I think the idea is quite good. I'm going to contribute with a bit of history I suppose everybody here knows what's Launchpad. So Launchpad was used to the initiative to join Gentoo Developers and Petteri in a senior community. And I remember when it was launched, most Debian people were saying, hey, that's not going to work, and so we are never going to work with tools and do the keys, etc. If you see, many players in Debian, and I'm not sure if Debian itself, no use Launchpad. So I think that if you do that offering resources to get to office space, offering being members of the foundation, and you do it well, we will probably end with something like what Launchpad is known for the Debian derivative distros.
Any other questions? Any other comments?
You said a few words about changing to more like corporate structure. What would be like practical advantage of it?
Donations from extra financial and donations in kind from external entities.
It's internally creating like 503 status in states, right?
Yeah.
That allows us for donations, but I just don't see this change to the corporate structure where it fits.
Because
but is your point that the corporate this 503C status is not required, like corporate structure restructuring is not required to acquire this?
No, it's not. But it gives other corporations a comfortable feeling. We're no longer a two-headed monster. We're a standard corporate that they're dealing with. Like, there's a hairstyle back of their neck.
Okay.
That's the point that Roy was saying. To put focus, we're talking about communities. One of the goals would be to get the Gentoo community larger and making sure that the communities for all the derivatives, we're not labeling them as Gentoo, but get part of the meta Gentoo community. That would be another goal.
We might just want to take a short break here.
Okay.
People want to move around.
Point out all the Gentoo developers in here.
Raise your hands.
Undercover
All Gentoo devs, please raise your hands. Thanks.